There's a statistic floating around right now that by the end of 2026, around 80% of small businesses will be using AI tools in some part of their marketing or operations. But here's the reality. Most of those businesses won't actually become more productive. They'll just become more overwhelmed. Because right now, a lot of business owners are adding AI tools on top of already messy marketing systems. Old websites, disconnected platforms, random social media content, and a growing pile of tools that don't talk to each other. So instead of saving time, they create something even worse, more complexity. And that's what we're unpacking in this episode of the Digital Success for Business podcast, because AI shouldn't be another tool in your stack. Used properly, it becomes something much more powerful. It can become a teammate that helps you capture your ideas, structure your expertise, and turn what's already in your head into marketing that actually works. Welcome to the Digital Success for Business podcast. I'm Leanne Cohens, founder of Marketing Leap, and for more than 13 years, I've helped small businesses navigate the constant changes in marketing, from the Yellow Pages era right the way through to today's AI-driven landscape. And in this episode, we're looking at how to actually use AI in a practical way that saves time, supports your marketing strategy, and helps your business grow without adding more chaos. Most small businesses have the same hidden problem. All the knowledge about the business lives in the founder's head. You know your customers, you know the problems they have, you know how your product or service helps them, but none of that knowledge is structured. It isn't documented. It isn't systemized, and it isn't easily turned into marketing. So everything takes longer than it should. Writing copy, even when you're using AI prompts, creating social media posts, explaining your services to new clients, updating your website. You know what you want to say, but getting it out of your head and onto the page is where the friction happens. And this is what I call the founder bottleneck. And this is actually where AI becomes incredibly useful, not as a replacement for your thinking, but as a way to capture your thinking and turn it into structured marketing assets. And I see this all the time with clients at Marketing Leap. A business owner might have 20 years of experience solving a very specific problem for their clients. They know exactly what their customers struggle with. They know the mistakes people make. They know the questions that they get asked every single week. But when you look at their website or their marketing, none of that expertise is visible because it's still sitting in their head. One of the first things I often do in a strategy session is simply get them talking. Get them to tell me about your best clients. Tell me about the problems that they bring to you. Tell me the mistakes that people make before they find you. Tell me about the results that you help them achieve. And within 20 minutes, I suddenly have pages of insights, not marketing jargon, real insights. A classic example of this was a strategy session I had with a client in the financial services industry. When we first started looking at their marketing, it looked very similar to a lot of businesses in that space, and I told them so. The messaging was quite generic, the social content was broad, and they were putting a lot of effort into platforms that weren't really delivering the right conversations. But during the strategy session, I listened to the way they were describing their clients, the language that they used when they talked about lending decisions, the way they explained how they work with banks and actually assess risk, and the kinds of results they had helped their clients achieve. That conversation completely changed how we approached their marketing. Instead of broad financial advice style content, we repositioned their messaging around something far more powerful. Their insider knowledge of how lending decisions are actually made. We use the real language that they use with their clients every single day. That insight flowed through everything we created. Their social posts, their blogs, their LinkedIn articles, even their email content, and their advertising. We also shifted platform strategies. Instead of spending time on Facebook, where conversations were light and scattered, and their ideal clients weren't really hanging out, we focused far more on LinkedIn, where their ideal clients were already having business and financial discussions. And all of this came from one simple thing: listening. Real language, real problems, real solutions. And that becomes the foundation for everything else, even in your business. Your website messaging, your social content, your lead magnets, your email marketing, your sales conversations. AI then helps structure that information faster. It can turn a conversation into website copy, a strategy discussion into a blog article, a client example into a LinkedIn post. But the thinking still comes from the human or the founder. The experience still comes from the business owner. And that's what makes the difference between content that feels generic and marketing that actually connects with people you're trying to reach. And this is exactly the approach we use with clients at Marketing Leap. We're not just implementing tools, we're building systems that take the knowledge already inside your business and turn it into clear messaging, structured content, and marketing that actually supports growth. So let's look at some strong workflows that you can implement using AI. Workflow number 1 is speech-to-text copywriting. One of the biggest mistakes business owners make with AI is trying to write prompts from scratch. They open ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or another tool and stare at the screen trying to figure out what they're supposed to type. Questions like, what prompt should I use? What wording works best? How do I get the AI to write what I want? That approach usually leads to frustration because the problem isn't the prompt. The problem is that the expertise still hasn't been captured. So instead of starting with prompts, start with what you already know: your experience, your conversations with clients, the problems you solve every day. One of the simplest workflows that we use with clients at Marketing Leap is speech-to-text copywriting. You simply talk, explain what the business does, explain the problems with the clients and what the problems are that they have, explain how you solve them, and then explain mistakes that people make before they come to you as a business. Just speak the way that you normally would to a client. Then AI structures that conversation into usable content. From website copy to blog posts, LinkedIn content, email newsletters, social media posts, and even lead magnets. The key difference is that the thinking comes from the business owner first. The AI is simply helping organize and structure it. And this is exactly how we approach content creation with many of our clients. Instead of asking them to sit down and write marketing, we start by capturing their expertise. We record strategy conversations, we document client stories, we extract the questions their customers ask every week, and then we map the problems they solve and the results that they deliver. And once that knowledge is captured, AI becomes incredibly powerful. It can then take a single strategy discussion and turn it into multiple marketing assets. A blog article explaining the issue in depth. Suddenly, the business owner isn't trying to invent content every week. They're simply sharing what they already know. This is exactly the thinking behind some of the resources we've created as well at Marketing Leap. A strategy workbook and social media checklist give business owners structured prompts and frameworks to help extract the knowledge that's already inside their business and turn it into consistent marketing content. Because the hardest part of content isn't the writing, it's knowing what to say. And once the expertise is captured, the content becomes much easier to create. And the second workflow is using AI to help with first-party data strategy. Big word. Another massive shift happening right now is the decline of third-party data. For years, businesses relied on platforms to do the heavy lifting. Facebook audiences, Google cookies, ad tracking pixels. Those systems help businesses reach people online without really needing to own the relationship with their audience. But those signals are disappearing. Privacy changes, platform restrictions, cookie depreciation, which means that businesses that relied heavily on those systems are now starting to feel the impact. Suddenly, ads don't target as accurately, tracking becomes less reliable, and customer behavior becomes harder to interpret. So the question becomes, if you can't rely on the platforms to tell you who your customers are anymore, where does that insight come from? It comes from your first-party data. So what's that? That's your email list, your CRM, your inquiry forms, your customer purchase history, your website analytics, and even your customer conversations. In other words, the information your business collects directly from the people who interact with you. And this is becoming one of the most valuable assets a business can build, because when you own the relationship with your audience, you're not dependent on algorithms. And remember, you don't own Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn. Any of your social accounts can be shut down instantly. Using first-party data, you can communicate directly with people who already know your brand. You can nurture relationships over time. You can build trust before someone's ready to buy. And this is something that we spend a lot of time helping clients structure at Marketing Leap, because for many businesses, the data exists, but it's just scattered. Some inquiries might sit in emails, some leads might come through social media, some customer information lives inside your booking systems, and maybe some data even sits in a spreadsheet, but none of it is connected. So part of our role when we step in as a strategy partner or even as a fractional marketing lead is helping businesses bring that information together, structuring the CRM, mapping how leads enter the business, designing lead magnets to attract the right prospects, building email nurturing sequences, and identifying the key data points that actually help you understand your customers better. For some businesses, we'll guide them through this process with strategy frameworks and workbooks. For others, particularly when time is limited, we simply build the system for them. And this is where our done-for-you services and fractional CMO work come in. Instead of the business owner trying to learn multiple platforms, building automations, connecting their marketing systems themselves, we step in and design the architecture, the audience mapping, the lead generation pathways, the CRM structure, the nurturing systems that turn inquiries into long-term clients. Because when your data is structured properly, your marketing becomes far more effective. Your messaging improves because you understand your audience better. Your content becomes more relevant. Your campaigns become more targeted, and your business is no longer relying entirely on the next algorithm change. For businesses that want to start mapping this themselves, we've created resources like the Digital Success Branding Workbook and Strategy Workbook. These tools help business owners clarify their audience, their messaging, and the data that they should actually be capturing to grow their business. But if you'd rather not build those systems yourself, then we're here to help clients implement that at Marketing Leap, because the data isn't just about numbers. It's about understanding the people behind them. Now, the third workflow is what I call predictive customer insight. And this is where AI can become genuinely useful for business owners, because instead of reacting to problems after they happen, it can help you identify patterns earlier, before they become complaints, before they become lost sales, and often before your competitors even notice them. AI can analyze patterns across a lot of different data points: customer questions, support emails, website inquiries, search queries, even the types of content people are engaging with. And when you start looking at those signals together, something interesting happens. You begin to see recurring problems, the same questions appearing time and time again, the same confusion about a service, and then the same hesitation before someone decides to buy. And once you can see those patterns, you can start solving them proactively. That might mean creating a piece of content that answers the question directly. It might mean improving the way a service is explained on your website. Or it might simply mean adjusting your messaging so that your people understand the value of what you do much earlier in the decision process. But here's the important part. AI can show you patterns. It can't understand context. It doesn't know your customers, and it doesn't know the nuances of your industry. And it certainly doesn't understand the real-world decisions that people make when they're choosing a service provider. That still requires human judgment, and that's where strategy comes in. At Marketing Leap, this is exactly how we approach AI with our clients. We use it to surface insights faster, to highlight patterns across inquiries, search behavior, and customer questions. But we then apply experience and strategy to interpret what those patterns actually mean for the business. Should that insight become a blog article, a new landing page, a social media content series, a lead magnet, or even simply change the way a service is positioned. Because when you start to understand the real problems your customers are trying to solve, your marketing becomes much simpler. You're no longer guessing what to say, you're responding directly to the questions and concerns that people already have. And that's where your marketing stops feeling like content creation and starts becoming problem solving, which is exactly where the best marketing always lives. So let's bring this all together. AI is not here to replace marketers. It's here to remove friction. And when used properly, it becomes something far more useful than just another tool in your stack. It becomes a teammate that helps you capture your expertise, structure your messaging, repurpose content across multiple platforms, and understand your audience faster. But here's the important part. AI on its own doesn't create good marketing. Without strategy, it simply produces more content, as I've discussed in my last few episodes. More posts, more blogs, more noise, and that's exactly where many small businesses get stuck. They start using AI to generate content quickly, but because the underlying marketing strategy hasn't been clarified, the output still feels generic. The messaging isn't clear. The audience isn't well defined, and the content doesn't connect in the way that they hoped it would. And this is why at Marketing Leap we focus on systems, not just content. Because when the system is clear, AI becomes incredibly powerful. Your expertise gets captured and documented, your messaging becomes consistent, your content starts connecting with the right audience, and your marketing begins to support real business growth instead of just filling up social feeds. And for us, sometimes that means helping a business owner build the system themselves through strategy sessions, through frameworks in our workbooks, or simply through practical guidance on how to structure their content and marketing workflows. But sometimes it means stepping in and building those systems for them, helping structure their messaging, mapping their customer journey, designing the content strategy, and implementing the marketing infrastructure that allows everything to work together. Because the goal isn't to produce more content. The goal is to create marketing that actually works. Marketing that captures the knowledge already inside your business, turns it into structured assets, and consistently attracts the right clients. And when that happens, AI stops being another tool. It becomes the teammate that helps your marketing run far more smoothly. So if you want to start implementing some of these workflows yourself, we've created a number of free resources to help. On the resources page at marketingleap.net, you'll find tools like the social media to-do checklist, the social content workbook, digital success strategy workbook. These guides include practical prompts, frameworks, and structured exercises to help you capture your expertise, clarify your messaging, and turn the knowledge inside your business into consistent marketing. Because once you understand what your customers are really looking for, creating content and communicating your value becomes so much easier. But not every business owner has the time or the interest to build those systems themselves, and that's completely fine. Many of our clients simply prefer to focus on running their business while we handle the marketing infrastructure behind the scenes. And that might include improving their website so it actually converts visitors into inquiries, implementing SEO or AEO so that they're visible when people are searching for the services they provide, creating structured social media content that builds authority and attracts the right audience, or simply stepping in as a fractional marketing lead to help guide the overall strategy and coordinate the different pieces of their marketing. For many growing businesses, this fractional model makes far more sense than trying to hire a full-time in-house marketing manager. You get senior level strategy, structured marketing systems, and consistent implementation, but without the overheads of a full-time salary. So whether you want to build the system yourself using the resources we've created, or you'd simply prefer an experienced team to help implement for you, you can find everything that you need at marketingleap.net. Because the goal isn't to produce more content, it's to build marketing systems that support real business growth. And in the next episode, we're looking at something almost every business owner struggles with. which is why most marketing plans fail within the first 90 days. And more importantly, how to build a strategy that actually survives contact with the real world and keeps working as your business grows. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the Digital Success for Business podcast on your favorite streaming platform so you don't miss the next episode. And if you'd like more practical marketing insights, tips, and strategies for growing your business, you can also follow Marketing Leap across our social media channels. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Digital Success for Business podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and follow us on YouTube for even more tips.